So for our ACT, I took this off the ACT website. It says, what is the value? And they give you an expression when x is -1. So what you're going to do is simply substitute. So you have x equals, well, not x equals, sorry. So we have our expression. And then we're just putting in a -1. So you would just type that in your calculator. Just like so. So all I did was every place in the expression where there is an x, I put a -1 in. Go ahead and use your calculator and see which one you would choose on the ACT. A, B, C, or D. Thumbs up when you have an answer. All right, who would pick A, B, C, D? All right, good. If you type it in, you should get -28. All right, go to page 14 in your note packet. And we're going to continue where we left off yesterday on page 14. But now we're going to do one extra step, which is solve it. All right, so the first thing we need to do is make our division sign. Remember, we flip it. So this is the factor that they gave us. That's my first factor. I'm going to write it over here. What number do I put on the outside of my L? -4, good job. And then my 4 numbers that go across the top would be what? +1. What else? -4. Can we put away our phones, please? We do have a skills check on Friday too, also. And I'll talk about that at the end of class. So +1, -4, what else? -17 and +60. You always drop down the first number. That first number, we don't do anything with the first number. We just bring it down. And then we multiply that number by -4. So when you take this 1 and multiply it by -4, 1 times -4 is -4. Pick up your calculator and add these two numbers together. When you add them together, you get -8. And then you take the -8 and multiply it by -4. -8 times -4 is +32. In your calculator, you're going to add -17 plus 32. You should get +15. Then you multiply 15 times -4, you get -60. And we end with a 0. So when there's 3 numbers, we start off with x squared. This is A, this is B, and this is C. So this is going to be 1x squared minus 8x plus 15. So now we're ready to factor that. So in order to factor it, we need two numbers that multiply to be A times C. So 1 times 15 is 15. Negative 8 goes on the bottom. All right, so what would be your numbers? They multiply to give you positive 15 and multiply to negative 8. Isaiah? Negative 3 and negative 5. All right, go ahead, take out your GCFs. And remember, in this box, that 15 is really a 3 times 5. So you got 2 x's in this box, a 3 and an x in that box, a 5 and an x in that box. Go ahead, take out your GCFs. And you don't have to break it down in the boxes. I think for some people it helps them figure out the GCF. So I'm taking out an x and a 3. It has to be negative 3. And then I'm taking out an x and a 5. And it should be a negative 5. So our factors are x plus 4, x minus 3, and x minus 5. Now, the one thing that we're adding on today that you didn't have to do yesterday, and it's on the back of homework 4, is we also need to find the solution. And in order to find the solution, we set our factors equal to 0. So x plus 4 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. So our solutions, go ahead and solve it out. Find your 3 numbers. I'm looking for 3 answers. So for the first one, I'm going to subtract a 4. So I got x equals negative 4. The second one, I'm adding 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. And for the last one, I'm adding 5. And I get 5. And that would be your 3 answers. So if they ask you for the solution, you have to set the factors equal to 0. All right, let's do our next one, couple more, and then we'll be finished for today, and you can use the rest of the class to work on your homework. All right, so let's look at question C. Let's go ahead, and we already know our first factor is x minus 5. I'm gonna put that over here. Let's do our synthetic division. What number goes on the outside of the L? I saw you, thank you. Positive 5. And then what would be our 4 numbers? So Gabriel, what would be my 4 numbers? Good. Go ahead, bring down the 2, multiply and add all the way through, see if you get a 0. If you end with a 0, you did it right. So take the 2 times 5, put that under negative 11, add. What happened?
I didn't know this was skipped.
Oh, did I skip B? Yeah, I skipped B going to C. B was too easy, so I said let's do something a little harder. Okay, so we got 2 times. Who ended with a 0? All right, good. 2 times 5 is 10. When you add, you get -1. -1 times 5 is -5. When you add, you get -6. -6 times 5 is -30. When you add, you get 0. So that would be 2x squared minus 1x minus 6. So this is A, B, and C. So we got to factor that down. So I'm going to make my x. At the top of the x, multiply A times C. So that would be 2 times -6, which would be -12. And at the bottom, -1. Don't say it out loud. But we need 2 numbers that multiply to -12 and add to -1. Anybody got the numbers? Just one person? Anybody else get the numbers? What you thinking, Nehemiah?
I know the numbers. I'm just trying to figure out the words.
So to get 12, it could be,
4 and +3.
yep, -4 and +3. All right, let's go ahead and make our box. The A goes here. The C will go here. And then we have our -4x and our +3x. So I know that this is 2xx, 2x, 3 and an x, a 3 and a 2. And let's take out our GCFs. Both of these boxes have a 2x, so we can take that out. And this both have a 3. And then the only thing I have left is an x and a -2. It has to be a -2 because that's a -4. So my factors are x minus 5, x minus 2, and 2x plus 3. Let's set all 3 of those equal to 0. For our first one, we're going to just add the 5. So my first answer would be 5, positive 5. My second one, I'm just adding 2. So my second answer would be a positive 2. For the third one, I have to do 2 things. I have to subtract the 3 first. And then I have to divide by 2. So I get -3 over 2. All right, I want you to try to do D by yourself. Do the synthetic division by yourself for question D. Who ended with 0? Okay. Go ahead and check your 3 numbers. 2, -7, and -4. Who had those 3 numbers? 2, -7, and -4. All right, good. So now we have to factor that down. So we're going to take A times C. 2 times -4 would be -8. -7 goes at the bottom. So don't say it out loud, but see if you can find our 2 numbers. They multiply to be -8 and add to give you a -7. All right, anybody know my numbers? I think that's the hardest part in factoring though, finding the numbers. I'm not gonna ask you for the numbers, but just thumbs up if you know the numbers. I'm just curious how many of you all found the numbers. Okay, that's the hardest part. So the only thing that multiplies to give you 8 is 1 times 8 and 4 times 2. So what do you think we're gonna use, 1 and 8 or 4 and 2? 1 and 8. And which one is negative, the 1 or the 8? Good job. Then I put it in the box round. So we got a 1x and we got a -8x. Let's break it down. 2x squared means you have 2xx. And then here you just have a 1 and an x. 4 is the same as 1 times 4. 8 is the same as 4 times 2 times x. Go ahead and take out your GCFs. All right, who had 2x plus 1 and x minus 4? Okay, good. So our factors will be the 2x plus 1, the x minus 4, and then what did they tell us at the beginning? X plus 6. Go ahead and set all 3 of those equal to 0. To get your 3 solutions. One of your solutions is a fraction. So we get x equals -1/2. And then you should get a +4 and a -6. Who had those 3 answers? All right, one more and then we are done. Done with this part of chapter 3. We're almost finished with chapter 3. We got a test next Friday. Skills check on this Friday. All right, so do the last one. Go ahead, set up your L. Who had 2, 13, and negative 7? So at the top of the X, we're going to put A times C, which is negative 14, and B is 13. So we need two numbers that multiply to give you negative 14 and add to 13. So to get 14, it could be 1 times 14 or 2 times 7. That's the only thing that multiplies to give you 14. So which one do you think we're using? 1 and 14 or 2 and 7? Yeah, 1 and 14. Which one is negative, the 1 or the 14? Oof, I don't think the 14 negative. The 1, because it has to add to be positive. All right, let's go ahead and put those here. Take a minute, see if you can find out your GCFs. I'm not gonna break it down this time. So your factors should be 2x minus 1 and x plus 7. So your three factors are 2x minus 1, x plus 7, and then what was the one they gave us? X minus 3. Go ahead, set all three of those equal to 0. And get your three solutions. All right, any questions about that? So I am giving extra credit for homework 4. If it's turned in, you still have 15 minutes to finish that out. You should have the front side finished. Go ahead, finish out homework 4, get that turned in. And then Friday, we have our skills check.